Hello, I'm Ralph Burrow. This is David Bartelt and Larry Freeman. We have over 200 years of history that we're going to share some of it with you.
One of the reasons I think when we look at campaigns in the church and our history, especially with the three of us, with the over 200 years, I think a lot of times we need to look at who brought us here, and of course it was our parents.
Yeah.
And who brought them here, and it was their grandparents. Have the privilege of looking in my closet the other day, and I found a achievement note from Mr. Raymer, who was a former principal here at Immanuel. You know?
Our 8th grade teacher?
And it was to my dad.
Oh.
And this was back in 1921. And he got an award of excellence. And I said, by gosh, I had Mr. Raymer. You had Mr. Raymer. You had Mr. Raymer. So we all had him. And the campaign that we're going into right now, which is So They Will, it's because of our parents and the staff that we want to say, so they will continue here at Immanuel and teach God's love and God's grace to everybody that comes through our doors.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to say mine started out back in 1943, baptized in 30th of January 1944, confirmed April 14th, 1957, and through those years there was a lot of ups and downs and a few chastisements here and there, as I can remember in school, and a lot of fun though. Oh man, all the times we got to play and run around, basketball together, dinners, especially the dinners. We did quite well with those things.
A little more about the school. I'm the third generation of 6, and we have our 6th generation right now. She's in pre-K. When I went to school, we didn't have kindergarten yet. These two guys had to go to kindergarten. I just felt I really didn't need it anyway. But the school has a long history, of course. It actually started when the church did back in 1862, and then the following year is when the school actually opened its first class.
Okay.
And my dad was a graduate of Immanuel in 1923. I was in 54.
Boy, my
and
dad
he
must
had
have
the same 4 teachers that I had. So we had a lot of history. And speaking of the gym and basketball,
oh, yes.
You guys remember what the gym used to be. The gym used to be the current kitchen and the classroom. And it was raised, and we used to have to shoot line drives in order to get it close to the basket.
Right. I think we only had 8-foot baskets, and
they were about 9, really. The ceiling was 12.
every Tuesday and Thursday, I think we got to go up to high school on Route 31.
Oh, and practice.
And
That's right.
So we could get used to 10-foot baskets.
That's right. I can remember having recesses in there with Mr. Wheatman. We had to jump the rope. Remember that with the BBs?
Right.
And then somebody stepped on the BBs and they went all over the floor.
It was fun.
And we had a lot of fun doing that. We've been in trouble many times. We're working on properties. We're forever having to do something. And that kind of goes back to when my dad, he must have worked on properties. They didn't call it that then. I can remember in the summer putting tile in the school, and then Pastor Hopple coming over and assisting a little bit, and then they had their liquid refreshment afterwards. And that was neat. I wasn't even in 7th grade yet. I think I was about in 6th grade when a lot of that happened. And when they built the building in '55, I remember all the work that the fathers and that did.
Right.
The old history of telling them digging out the basement here so they could put the boiler in and things like that. There's a lot of history there. Yeah. And then your dad was involved in it all the time, Ralph. And
he coached the basketball team in 1936. So, of course, at that time it was all volunteer, and it was certainly different. But we do have a lot of history with the church. Our first pastor was Pastor Burkhart, and I think that it's really interesting to mention Pastor Stagey. He was the third, and I encourage people to always look at our pastors as they're presented here in the hallway. We have a picture of each pastor, but Pastor Stagey was with Immanuel for 47 years. With Pastor Yonker's knee replacement, I think he'll probably shoot for 48. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll wait and see on that. Right. That's true.
In this campaign, one that we've done that we have to do, and it's good that we do it every 3 years because it
kind of reminds us.
It's a renewal,
reinvigorating.
Right. To have time to reflect on where we've been and where we want to go.
Well, we heard Sunday that sometime with the campaigns, people get fatigued, and I suppose that's your choice. Mm-hmm. But the more important thing is it should just be a way to remind you and inspire you to be a joyful giver.
Yes, totally. I mean, it just...
Like I say.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in, I don't know whether it was when we were building the school or when we remodeled the church, you know, when we had the red raritas back here, the red carpeting on the wall.
Okay.
Remember that?
The old pulpit and that?
Yeah, the old pulpit, but without the canopy over the top. We had a program called Grace Banks. I don't know, you guys remember that? Grace Banks. And every week, I can remember my mother and I, we were up in old Carpentersville, but you'd have a round of members that you would go to once a week, every Friday. You'd go down, pick up their Grace Bank for the week, give them a new one, take it home, count the money, and bring it down to church. Yeah. And I think we did that for 5-6 years. But that was something that you know, you got to meet the people.
That's true.
And that was good. Plus the fact it was in the economic times back then, it was easy to do that, one dime at a time or a nickel at a time or something like that. But when they called them Grace Banks, that's truly what God has given to us, that grace and that love that He has for us, that He showed us. That's how He wants us to return to Him what He's given us.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, everything we give back is just out of the heart. It's not showing that, well, we're buying our way into anything, because there's no way you can buy your way into heaven.
Right.
Everything we have is His.
And it's His. We're just giving back, and it says in the Bible, by grace you are saved. That's it.
That's right.
Nothing more.
That's right. And every congregation needs that. Every congregation needs that challenge. We talked about that. We talked about that at Board of Directors. We talked about it in Men's Club. We talked about it in Bible Says. If we don't challenge the congregation, and if we don't show the people what we're doing and what God wants us to do,
we're going to be stagnant and dying.
Right. And just be quiet. So we have to keep that challenge in front of everybody. And that's what the capital campaigns are good for. Right?
They are. We've had several, but they've all been very successful. And this one, I'm sure, will be the same.
Yeah. And it gives a chance to let the new people, the new members of the congregation, participate and not get shoved off to the side, but to become part of the congregation and to watch that congregation grow with them.
Be more vested.
Right. And be totally vested. And that's exciting. That's exciting.
Pastor asked us what we learned since we've been here.
I think we've already said a lot of it.
There's a couple things. My dad, when he was in second grade, he did not learn enough German, so he was retained a year because of that. Of course, a few years later, they dropped German. They dropped German completely, and some people still here, I know about the German sermons we used to have.
Oh yes, I remember.
And the men used to come to communion.
Yes.
Then the ladies would come to communion, but
That's
that was something that was dropped back in '48, actually.
Right.
Okay.
Another thing we learned how to memorize.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the blessings we've had.
Yeah.
Because I can remember things as far as Bible verses and songs from the old hymnal.
It really helped in
And-
college.
Did it? Or did the memory work in that and keeping things going?
But that's true. You know, that's a good reminder. Memory work. The little pamphlet we had with
Oh, yeah. It's-
number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Mr. Bourne, after one of the teachers, would say, "Well, tomorrow we're going to memorize, or tonight you memorize 2, 3, and 4."
4, right.
Right. So next day, first thing, always first thing in the
thing.
morning. Memory work.
Yep.
In 8th grade, we learned to memorize the Gettysburg Address.
Did you? I don't think we did that.
No, I don't.
I don't think we did.
I can't remember yesterday now.
Right. But you know, all the little things that we did as we grew up and as we went through the school. That's
What we learn about music? Remember?
crows and canaries.
That's right.
What were you?
I was a crow, and I'm still suffering.
Same here. I believe I was. You're singing in the basement. Be quiet.
Labeled for a lifetime.
Right.
That was probably maybe a negative in a way.
Yeah.
You know, but there's a lot more positives happening now, especially all the extracurricular, music, drama.
Oh yeah.
It is amazing that what our grandkids can do.
Well, I happen to be a canary, but
Yeah, we know.
I got lucky.
You sung at my wedding.
that's right, I did, didn't I? And you,
I skipped it.
I went.
No, you
okay,
skipped mine.
Okay, I went to the Army in 1964. Pastor Stoddicker left in 65, and you got married in 65. You couldn't even wait till I got back.
It's called scheduling.
Oh, okay.
You need to schedule better.
Okay. Oh, but the most important thing is that as a congregation, you know, we need to look at that and look at our theme that says, "So they will."
Right.
So they will continue to provide a Christian education in the school, comforting worship services, and a smile for everybody that walks in here. You know?
That's true.
That's what we need to do, and that's what I think these campaigns do for every one of us when we go through that.
I said, what have I learned? I've learned a whole life here.